Hello, my name is Patrick Usher, and in this video I wish to discuss the seemingly simple nature of the dynamic neural retraining system. Now this video is for those of you who have actually taken the step of buying the DNRS DVDs and you're starting to use it for POTS. And obviously on this channel I can't, for ethical and many other reasons, just sort of talk about what actually is in the DNRS program because I didn't design it, and I can't just copy and paste it here. And I hope that's obvious. But I can, in my own self-imposed remit, as it were, talk about it from above and why I think it works, and offer comments on the nature of the program. So. To that end, I'm just imagining a scenario where someone orders it, opens it up and starts to do the exercises and maybe thinks, gosh, this is awfully simple, or even simplistic. You may or may not use the word gosh, but that's another point. And I want to speak to that. Now, some people, of course, will kind of get it. Why the DNRS is asking you to do what it's asking you to do. To some people, it'll be obvious. To me, it was obvious once I started doing the practices that this was speaking to my primitive brain in a way nothing else I'd ever done ever could have. But I want to speak to those people who may think, how is this going to work? Surely this is too simple. You know, it's not getting me to do do some exercises around Einstein's theory of relativity. You know, how is this possibly going to rewire my brain? I don't know. Anyway, and the first point to make is, don't forget the DNRS is a very well structured program and does require a lot of discipline and repetition. It just so happens that the exercises you're doing happen to be at one level quite simple, although they require a lot of creativity and imagination. A lot of creativity and imagination. So don't lose heart from that point of view. It's a very well thought out program. It's just that the actual exercise itself that you're doing could appear simplistic. So I want to speak to that if you have that anxiety. And the number one point I wish to make is that the limbic system is a simple beast. Obviously, from the point of view of studying it scientifically, it's very complex. But from the point of view of what a traumatised limbic system cares about or wants, in terms of knowing that life is safe again, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, better than what the DNRS offers in order to achieve that end. It is, in a way, if you think about it, your brain, if you have POTS, and if the limbic system impairment hypothesis is true, then your limbic system is stuck in what I would call negative primitive, right? Your traumatized limbic system is overriding everything else, and it's stuck in negative mode. So the kind of fears and anxieties that are coming up are very, very primitive and extreme. Okay. What the DNRS is getting you to do is inculcate positive primitive. Yeah? It's speaking to the limbic system on its own terms. That's why it's so clever. It's so clever because it's actually worked out in terms of what might lead a brain into trauma, it's worked out the exact opposite extreme. And what the DNRS is getting you to do, the exercises are kind of extreme. They're positive extreme, right? They're positive extreme. It's a primitive positive. So I hope that offers, that thought offers some. If you are thinking, gosh, this seems simplistic, remember your limbic system is simplistic in terms of its worldview, in terms of what it cares about. And remember that your brain is stuck in negative primitive. And what we want to do is get it out of there into positive primitive, which is where everyone's limbic system ideally should be. And then on top of that, our rational thinking brain is free to do whatever it needs to do once our limbic system is in positive primitive. Okay. So that's what I'll say about that. So I'll speak a bit more. I've made this point in other videos, but I practiced a lot of mindfulness meditation before I did the DNRS because I recognized that there was something fight or flight related going on. And I practiced mindfulness or mantra-based meditations for between 2 to 4 hours a day for 2 months before starting the DNRS, and it didn't stop the adrenaline. So the DNRS did in 7 days, right? Because it speaks to that primitive part of the brain in ways that mindfulness and the mantra-based meditations cannot do when the brain is in such a traumatized state, right? I like the analogy of an elephant and the rider, and I'm going to do a video that speaks more to this at some point. But if you think of the two main parts of the brain from our point of view, the limbic system and the rational prefrontal cortex, the limbic system is the elephant, and the rider is the prefrontal cortex, the part of you that controls executive function and chooses where to place attention and is the more rational part of the brain. And ideally, you want both of these working together so that the elephant is happy and the rider can be on top of the elephant and they both work together. However, when the brain is in trauma, and the limbic system is in trauma, that elephant is absolutely haywire and running around the place and trumpeting like mad and deeply distressed. And when that elephant is in that state, the rider cannot control that elephant. So to apply mindfulness to this analogy, in mindfulness, the rider is getting down off the elephant and going and sitting under a tree and watching the elephant from a distance with non-judgmental kindness, ideally. But when the elephant is in such a traumatized state, it's impossible to watch from a distance. You just get sucked in. The rider gets sucked back in because it is simply, there's too much going on. Whereas with the DNRS, and you will understand this if you're doing the DNRS for POTS, you will understand when I say that the DNRS core practice is the equivalent of the rider going up to the traumatized elephant and saying, what do you actually need to know? What do you actually need to understand so that you can appreciate that life is safe again? And it's actually asking, how the rider can direct the elephant's attention to things that will lead the elephant to believe that life is safe. So it's the rider. The rider, of course, is involved in the DNRS. You are using a lot of executive function, but you're guiding your executive function to positive primitive, positive elephant speak. All right, and I hope that analogy makes sense to you. And I think it certainly will. I hope to those of you who are doing the program. So that's kind of what I want to say about that. Do not be fooled. Do not think that because it seems that the core exercise may be simplistic, that this is a sign that it won't work. The limbic system is simplistic in its worldview, therefore the main exercises have to be simplistic, although they involve a huge amount of creativity, imagination and heart, and are highly enjoyable from that point of view. So yes, that's all I wish to say about that. I hope you find this video helpful, and I wish you a pleasant day wherever you are.